Good evening. So, I am incredibly privileged and honored to sit next to this lady here, opposite of me. And I was thinking, we just met 2 minutes ago. And I was thinking, she asked me, did we prepare the questions for her? And I say no. I actually don't like to prepare anything. I think that we have to have some kind of intuition to feel what we have to ask and to feel the energy of the room and to feel the energy of her, and then questions will come by itself. So my first question that is in my mind it's that she belongs to the 13 native grandmothers of the world. So I have 2 questions about this. What that means, what are responsibilities, and also why the number 13?
Well, first of all, I just want to greet each and every one of you, say good evening, and I'm glad to be here and greet you. And I'm a member of the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers, and the grandmothers are a group of Indigenous women from all over the world, and we came together in October 2004. And when we decided that we were going to form this council of grandmothers, we said, well, what are we going to call ourselves? And one of the grandmothers, our Yupik grandmother from Alaska, she had a bundle, and she opened the bundle, and inside the bundle there were 13 stones. And she said, this is a bundle that my grandmother gave to me when I was 9 years old. And she said, this bundle is for the 13 grandmothers. And she said, I didn't know what she meant at that time, but we must be the 13 grandmothers she was talking about. And so she said, so she came and gave each one of us one of the stones from the bundle. And she said, most people think 13 is an unlucky number. But my grandmother told me that 13 is a sacred number, and that the number 13 is found in many things of nature. Like she said, the scientists decide, kind of like say, okay, so there's 12 planets, but we say there's 13. The Gregorian calendar has 12 months in a year, going by moons. We go by moons, and we say there's 13 moons in the year. And so, and even on the back of a turtle, on the shell, the little squares on the turtle shell, there's 13 on every turtle's back. And so she said, the number 13 is very special and sacred. And so let's call ourselves the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. And that's how we became the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers.
And what will be your function? I mean, what is the really function of the 13, the grandmothers?
When we came together, we had time to talk about what we thought about, what have we been told in our, among our Indigenous teachings about how, how we are to conduct ourselves and take care of life on Mother Earth, and the concerns and what we were seeing happening today. And so we decided that what we wanted to do was we needed to protect our earth-based medicines, the medicines that Indigenous people rely on and have used from time immemorial. And today, and at that time we were talking about the pharmaceutical companies coming into Indigenous lands and territories and taking our medicines and patenting them. And by that, they were taking away our rights to use our own medicines. And so we said, we can't allow that to happen. We have to take a stand and protect those. The other one was that was our culture and our traditional spiritual practices and beliefs, that we needed to uphold those, and each one of us in our own communities or nations that we come from, we have those things yet. We still practice them. And so we said we need to preserve our culture and our spiritual practices and beliefs. And then we said, well, we see a lot of chaos and turmoil in the world, a lot of unrest, a lot of violence. Violence not only towards each other as human beings, but also violence towards all of the life forms in the world. All of the animal life, the ones that live in the water, the plant life, the Mother Earth, all of this violence. And so we said what we must do is we must go out and promote this message of peace, the message of we are all related, we are all connected, and that we must share that teaching and hopefully create an understanding among all people that we are all related. And in that way, we would be carrying forward a message of peace to the world. And so we made that our mission.
It's interesting that I was very recently, when I was making my biography, my book, Walking Through the Walls, I was very recently aware of the number 13, because somehow my book finished on the 13th chapter. And there was a chapter, and they were saying the editor, but 13 is not lucky number. But somehow I felt that the number 13 was right number of chapters. And much later on, it told me that actually it's, as you said, it's very ancient and very secret number 13. So in some kind of intuition way, I got to the 13 without knowing all this, what you're saying. But I want to say something else. In the early 80s, there was a very important meeting that I actually was lucky to witness. And the meeting was in Frankfurt during the book fair. And the meeting was between the Hopi Indians chief, those time also woman, I don't remember, so long ago the name, and the Tibetan, also the Tibetan Lama, and the NASA representatives of NASA space program. And what was the meeting was about, first of all, I didn't know that actually your relation to Tibetans is so profound, because the Tibetan name for the moon is exactly exactly Hopi name for the sun. And Hopi name for the sun is a Tibetan name for the moon. It's just kind of like almost opposite cultures. And then it was interesting, something else there, that actually the Dalai Lama was present, and His Holiness Dalai Lama was talking to the Hopi Indian with the sounds. It was not the words. It was a kind of strange sounds. It was a pre-language conversation, and they understood each other completely. And the idea of this meeting was that in predictions of Hopis and the predictions of Tibetans, taking uranium out of the ground would change stratosphere around our planet. This actually completely disbalance, the stratosphere. And these rituals and the beliefs and the secret knowledge was there for a long, long time. But of course, scientists have to have proofs. If they don't have proofs, nothing exists for them, even if it's obvious. So that means that actually NASA had the proofs that this was true. And this was the meeting between actually the spiritual, the community and the scientists. And to me, it's so interesting how that actually is more and more happening. I mean, another example, Dogon people from in South Africa, they believed and they had the rituals about Trans-Pluto, small, tiny satellite around the Pluto. And nobody knew that this little satellite exists. till scientists find the telescopes and say, oops, there is a Pluto, there is a little satellite. But they've done already the rituals and the dances forever, doing it. So I think that all thing that how actually one thing that connect the artist and the natives is really intuition, that somehow things, and scientists need to prove them that exist. But who cares? Things exist without scientists proving them. And to me, it's really interesting. Do you know something about this uranium story and taking uranium? That how dangerous it is for this balance of our planet?
The way that I was taught is that Mother Earth is a body, just like our body, and everything that she has, everything that makes up her body is very vital to her existence and her life. Just like our blood, we have to have blood flowing in our body.
And the Mother Earth is female energy.
Yes, and so we've always been told there are certain teachings that we were given, and one is like in the wintertime we aren't supposed to, we're supposed to treat Mother Earth very gently. We aren't supposed to dig into her. We aren't supposed to pound on her. We are to, and even, like stomp on her. We're to be gentle, walk gently. And we're to even acknowledge her, speak to her gently, kindly, and with gratitude, to give thanks. And if you take something from her, you always put something back, make an offering. That's the way we're told. And even if it's to sprinkle a little bit of water on the earth.
I was witnessing something very, she was talking in Amazon, with the natives there. They will cut the tree. First they will make the dance to the tree. Then when they cut it, they will put a piece of crystal, or put something in the roots where the tree was, so that you by giving it, you taking it and bringing it back, that actually will heal that spot which has been, taken out.
Right, that's a practice of reciprocity, to give. If you're going to take, you give. It's that reciprocity that we practice, and it's like that even in it should be a practice we do in any of our relationships with one another, not only just when we're taking something from Mother Earth, but this is all part of making good relationships. This is part of having that, understanding and practicing this concept of we are all related, is this reciprocity. If someone offers their hand to you in a handshake, they're extending it to you, offering it to you. And you in turn extend your hand back out. And so there's this reciprocity of giving and receiving.
But what we do with the situation when we have such a huge damage made to Earth is almost, you can't even repair what we've been done. And right now we have 7.5 billion people living, which Earth can't handle it. It's too much. What is going to happen? Oh, you're a grandmother, so you have the answers.
I'm still learning. It's been, like in the way that we see things, and it's all part of nature, the way nature keeps things in balance. And sometimes there are certain events that where Mother Earth, where she cannot, it's almost like what's happening now. When you do your like for Mother Earth, and we digging into her and pulling oil or uranium or coal or any of these extractive events that are going on our Mother Earth, it creates a void. It makes a hole in her body. So what happens? She's going to adjust it. And so, it's unfortunate that, there has been such a, such a population growth. It's unfortunate that, that there hasn't been preparation for it. Making plans or knowing that in certain parts of the world there's going to be shortages. There's not going to be, already it's happening. There's not going to be enough food, there's not going to be enough water, there's not going to be enough land, space for people. And what happens is then something has to give. And so what's happening is, with this expansion and the urban sprawl and everything else that's rapidly growing with no regard to, the impacts it has. There needs to be some efforts to, create checks, a way to check on that and how to respond to it. I'm kind of a little bit amused that you're asking me that question because, when it comes to development or even things like the extractive industry, the mining, things like that, or the building of dams and all of these things. When it comes to that, there is no consultation given to the indigenous people. They come into our lands and territories and, they dam up the water. And it has a major impact on the existence of the people who live there. The animal life, the plant life, everything. But there was no consultation before the mining started, before the dams were built, before the huge corporate agriculture has been established, destroying the forests, the rainforests, all these things. There's no consideration, no consultation, and what's called free, prior, and informed consent by the people who live in these areas, who depend on their livelihood from keeping everything as it is in its natural state. And so, you're asking me, what about this, the population growth that, it's part of it's part of the larger society that's creating this. And we've been told this was going to happen.
To me, the most difficult thing is that, I'm generally optimist, but I really believe it's irreversible, that I think that we are running out of time, that I think that actually the only way to change something is to change consciousness of people. to change their way of thinking, the way how they deal with themselves, with the family, and from the family to larger community. And if this is not done, nothing can happen. And I think we are late. This is what I want to think about. Do you think we are late?
I don't know. I think there's many efforts, being done right now to try to bring things back in balance. There's more awareness. I've heard it referred to as being awake, the awakening where people are becoming more aware and beginning to take their own responsibility in how their life is conducted or what they're in support of.
I just want to share with you one really funny opinion. But there is in Lapland, there is a group of the shamans there who do something called collective dreaming. They will go together in seclusion and do the rituals with eating very little food and being in.
Take their own responsibility in how their life is conducted or what they're in support of.
I just want to share with you one really funny opinion. But there is in Lapland, there is a group of the shamans there who do something called collective dreaming. They will go together in seclusion and do the rituals with eating very little food and being in a solitude for a long time, and they will go and dream the dreams. And the dream have to be collective, same dream. So coming out of this dream, once of the shaman told me that actually the best thing happened in this planet right now is the Trump to be the president. I said, how is this possible? It's the best thing to happen. He said, yes, because he's so irrational, he's so crazy. That's actually create that awakening, that we finally wake up. Because before it will be another guy and everything looks similar. But he's so different than anything else. So he's the magician who waking us up. What do you think about that? That kind of theory. Yeah, I know, it's speechless, I understand. But this is one opinion. Mm-hmm. But it's so important, the spiritual community. And I think that's a really big hope, to kind of go back into spirituality, that I personally don't like religion. I don't like religion because to me it's to do with institution, with the corruption and money. But spirituality is a different thing. Spirituality is something that I can relate to. And it's all, again, talking about changing consciousness. Changing consciousness is a key to everything. I was just recently in Stockholm, and I was asked as an only artist to give a talk for the Nobel Prize, in a ceremony of Nobel Prize. And I was asked to talk about water. And I was giving this very simple example. This is something that the Japanese scientists actually discovered 10 years ago, and you can see on YouTube. And if you have 2 glasses of water, like this one and this one, can you give me yours, please? And they're exactly the same cup full. So you take 1 glass of water, and you drink this glass of water of the incredible rage and anger and frustration, really, really angry. And then you take this second glass of water, and this glass you really drink with the passion, with the compassion, with the tranquility, with the full of love. And then left of the drops of glass of water, you look under the telescope. So the one who you drink with the rage and anger completely have molecules destroy and become actually poison to your body. And the other one who you drink with the love and compassion, they are totally symmetrical and become healing. The water becomes something that actually is a medicine for you. So it's really interesting. Whatever you have in our mind and you put out, you get back. And for everything So if we just understand the simplicity of that, we could change the world. Because by changing yourself, you change thousands. That's what I think, that you probably agree with me.
I agree, yes. And that's a practice that indigenous people have, is to pray with the water, talk to the water, and give thanks. We call it our mother. We call it our mother because it's our first foundation of life. We lived inside of water in our mother's womb for 3/4 of a year. And when it was time for us to be born, the water, it came out. We say it came out first and we followed it. So we call it the first foundation of life. And so we call it our mother water or grandmother water, and show great honor and respect towards it. And so in ceremonies, that's always, one of the first things that's done is the water is presented. And in ceremonies, the women are the ones who carry the water. The women are the ones who are the life givers. And so the woman carries the water and prays with it and puts the blessing, and then everyone partakes of it. But before we partake of it, when she finishes her prayer, she puts water on Mother Earth first. And then we go ahead and partake of it. So yes, water is very sacred, very sacred. It's our life-giving element. And one of the teachings that I was given when I was about 14 years old from one of my Hopi elders, he said, know your water. Know your water. Know where your water comes from. Know when that time comes, when the water is no longer coming out of your faucet, your sink, in your kitchen, in your home, there's no water, know where you're going to find it. Know where the springs are, the fresh water springs. Take care of them. Watch what's happening. What are they doing to it? That's you. That's your drinking water. That's what you're going to live on. That's what your children are going to depend on. Your grandchildren. All of the future generations of life. Know your water. That's what I was told. And so my mission in my life is that. To pray with it, to take care of it, to speak up whenever I know there's something happening that's threatening the water source. That's something we all depend on. And so that's been my mission. That's the work I do, part of the work I do.
Because they're so important, because 70% of the world is water and 70% of us is the water. And then again it comes to the importance of the moon, how the moon plays such an important role, because the moon actually moves the water in our bodies and in the world. So you have rituals based on moon.
The moon is our grandmother. That's how I was told by my mother, is we call her grandmother, our grandmother moon. And that she does have, she has this powerful energy. And that, and we as women, we go through our moon cycles, our monthly moon, our monthly menstruation. We call it our moon cycle, and it's usually a 28-day cycle. If you watch the patterns or the cycles of the moon, she's on this 28-day cycle, and so when you look at the moon and she goes through her phases, we too as women, we go through those same phases within our bodies. And so the moon is very, very special and powerful And so we take time out as well to, pay attention to, the phases that the moon is in.
So another thing that's really interesting for me to talk to you, talking about rituals, because I think there is in some ways similarities between, because I'm a performance artist, between performance and rituals. And especially what I'm working is long durational works. I like something that is very, very long, because I think when you're performing and it's 15 minutes or 1 hour, 2 hours, you still can act, you can still pretend, you can still, play somebody else. But if something is 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and you're still, working, everything drop down. You kind of essence, like pure you come out. And then, the most powerful thing is repetition. To repeat the same thing the same time over and over again. And the rituals are really based on repetition. One of my students, I will give in workshops, I will give the task to just very simple thing, to open the door and not enter or exit and close the door. Close the door, not enter, not exit, open the door, not exit, not enter. So just that kind of ritual, as slow as possible. And the slowest possible, not 15 minutes, not 1 hour, but 3 hours. 3 hours you're opening the door without entering and without closing. And you got to the point of consciousness that actually this door is not anymore door. The door is become universe, becomes cosmos, become space, becomes something completely beyond. And I think the rituals are the key to something that become universal. So I'm thinking how much of this repetition is part of your culture.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time we call them our ceremonies. Traditionally, ceremony begins when a baby is born and goes for each stage of life, the 4 stages of life. Yeah, child, adolescent, adult, and elder. Yes, that's the whole cycle of life. And there's a prayer that's made for that child when they're born, and the prayer is when they're introduced to everything out to the sun, everything out here in the world. When they're introduced, the prayer is that child will aspire to live a good, full, healthy life and live to old age. And at the time when it's time for them to go home, they will go to sleep and go that way.
How lucky they've been, because I come from communist family, nothing like this. It's nothing like this. I have to learn everything myself. And then I just one question about the rituals and repetition. We will talk
the rituals, yeah. Well, in each one of those ceremonies and other ceremonies, there are certain kinds of certain songs, certain prayers, certain instruments, certain herbs, certain expressions that are made, and it's an order. There's order. There's an order to the ritual.
And have to be exactly followed by precisely.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're told, is that we have to have order, structure, because that it's like a path of life. And whoever the ritual or ceremony is for, it's their life. And we want that person's life to be good. And so we have certain ways of doing it. And there's some ceremonies that, people are prepared their whole lifetime, practically, before they're given the authorization to do the ceremony. Yeah, because there's certain songs that they have to sing in order. they're in order. You can't leave out one of the songs. There's no shortcuts. So it has to be in order. Even in a funeral, in the funeral ceremonies, rituals and ceremonies that are done, there's the certain songs that are sung, and they have to be sung in order all night long, all the way till morning time when the sun's getting ready to come up.
Thank you. So I was thinking, we have such a great public, we should really address some questions from the public to you. So please, anybody interested in something? Wow, I knew it. So
Okay,
please, can we
and
give
I'm
some
here to help moderate the Q&A. So
the microphone.
we have microphones on either side. So we'll start, I suppose, right here in the front row, the woman here. And then is there someone over there we want to get ready? Okay.
Hi, thank you both very much for being here this evening. My question is, you spoke earlier about the urban sprawl and how important it is for us to know where our water comes from. Most of us have no idea at all in the urban sprawl where our water comes from. And I've often wondered with us whether we are some kind of parasite to the earth. And when you mentioned the water, it reminded me of that. And I wondered what you thought about that, and whether the Mother Earth at some point might decide no more water for you, and you, the parasite, would cease to exist, but the rest of you that know where your water is, you won't. So I wondered what you both thought of that idea.
You mean basically is going to be selection?
Yes, in a way, yes. I mean, yeah, maybe not, but that's my first question.
The reason why we were told that we must always be, give thanks for the water is because we believe that it has the water, Mother Earth, all of these elements have great compassion for us. But it's just like, again, the reciprocity, you still have to take care of it. I think of, for example, like Flint, Michigan, okay? I think of now in South Africa, I think one city, great big city, and maybe it's Cape Town or somewhere, but they have no water. They're in it, In Brasilia, I was told that there's times when they have water 3 days a week because they have a great water shortage. So it's happening. It's happening, and some of the work I'm doing right now is and this is what I went to the World Water Forum in Brasilia in March this year, and this is what I told them. I said, we can't just look at the rivers and the lakes and streams. We must look at the watershed. That's the source. Ridge to reef, from the top of the mountains all the way into the waters, the oceans. That watershed, that's what we're talking about. Not just your lake, your reservoir where I think there's one in in upstate New York that I've heard is where the water for New York City comes from. So you're all living here in the city, and the people up there in upstate New York where this lake is that is now being possibly threatened by a pipeline or a fracking or some threat, that's your water. So, you know, so those are some of the things that I think it's important for us to look at is, you know, from the ridge to the reef, the whole watershed, the whole water basin.
But also in this all the way is huge contradiction because we have the glaciers and the icebergs are melting, and actually we're going to have too much water, and water is going to rise and it's going to flood. You know, New York will be one of the first one, and then all California. And when you think about, it's going to be huge immigration of people, and people have to move around the planet, and then the border is going to be closed, and there's going to be mess. So I don't know. I think everybody should have Plan B. I have my Plan B, but because you never know. So was another question here.
Hi there. So my question was related to your question, Maria, regarding is it too late? And I'm curious, I know, Mona, you certainly don't seem like I'm going to have all the answers, but I'd love to get your thoughts on whether too late is really kind of determined by our ability to rise to the challenge as a human race, to have the capability and focus, vision, and skill to actually come forward for this big opportunity to manifest our own outcome.
Well, when I was about 14 years old, I met a Hopi elder, and one of the things he said, some of the things he said to me and others, was that, as I'm saying, you know your water, know where he said, know your water. Where is that source of water, the fresh water, the water you're going to have to drink? Know your air. Where are the places where the air is going to be clean? Know your fire. I didn't know what he meant by that, but now I know. How many of you know how to start a fire with flint or without a match or without any artificial means? That was what he meant. I haven't learned how to do that yet. I have the kit, but I still don't know how to do it. So learn how, and then, you know, you also need to know about, you know, where Mother Earth will have the edible plant life, you know, where you will go to eat, get food. It won't be in the supermarkets. If it is, it's so outrageously expensive, only trumpets will be able to go buy it. But that was what he told me. That's what I heard. I didn't question it. It was like when he was telling me these things, it was like I was wide open, and he told me these things, and they became part of me. And this has been my walk of life. So the other thing they said, and it wasn't only him, but many other elders that I followed, and they said that there's going to come a time when, you know, like I said, the water's not going to be coming out of your faucets in your homes. They said that we're going to come to a point where we will be crying for our loved ones, and that we are going to have to step over them. meaning that there are going to be people who are not going to survive and there are going to be people who will survive. And so, you know, I guess that's hope. We have to have hope. And, you know, anytime you're seeking hope, or you know that there's something coming. I mean, let's take, for instance, you're going to be a parent for the first time, and you know this child's going to come, it depends on you. You have to provide for it. So you have to prepare for it. You have to have what they're going to need. And so we know, we can see it already, all the climate change, all of the, you know, the melting of the glaciers, the rising water levels, the droughts that are going on, the earthquake, all these things that are happening. And what I was told then was that there would be this chaos. And, but at the same time, have hope. Don't just, you know, say, okay, well, it's coming, I'll sit down and go with it. We shouldn't do that. That's what I was told.
But in the past, the big wars was always regulating the amount of people on our planet. And now there's no war in that kind of big global way. It was the first one or second war. And so then in prognostic, that will be 14 billion people on the planet in 2035, which is an incredible amount. So the Earth, as I again say, they can't hold it. So what? You have to be some kind of natural regulation that can be not something that many people survive. I mean, we have to face into this. It's not being pessimistic, it's just facts. They are facts. But there is one other question. The microphone, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I wanted to know if ceremonies changed over time, or if they were actually timeless, and if it was important for a ceremony to be timeless.
Well, here in the United States, we've gone through oppression of our culture and spiritual practices. It was against the law for us to have our ceremonies and do the ceremonies, even to have possession of our medicines, our earth-based medicines, to have possession of our eagle feathers or paraphernalia that we use. It was against the law. And people, they were confiscated, destroyed, they were arrested, put in jails. And what happened was there were some adjustments to the ceremony.
I just want to interrupt you. Just to think, do you think that they are forbidden because he was too powerful?
Yeah, they felt
So
threatened.
that means that what you're doing really works?
Oh yeah, it does.
This is the best news ever.
Okay, let's take for instance, there was a big movement, spiritual movement. It was called the Ghost Dance, and it was this movement that where one of the prophet, Polacca, who was a Paiute, he had a vision, and part of his vision was that they were to do this dance, and that the dance would give them strength and power to not allow the white colonizers to take control over them. And the people, and that the dance would give them strength and power to not allow the white colonizers to take control over them. And the people, all tribes, it became a huge movement, and they're doing this. And the government was threatened by it. they saw it as a movement to create war. And so it was against the law to do the ghost dance. What the tribes did then was, instead of calling it a ghost dance, began to call it a social dance. And so they would all gather and they would do their social dance. But it was really the ghost dance. And they still do it today. The sun dance, there were many tribes that were doing the sun dance. And again, that was became a crime, and they weren't allowed to do it. And part of it is where the dancers, the men, they would pierce their skin on their chest. So it was against the law. And so what some tribes did was continued to do the dance, but quit doing the piercing. But they still continued to do it. The people like the Pueblo people in New Mexico, Hopi, not the Hopi, but the New Mexico Pueblo people, what they did was they were invaded by the Spaniards, Catholicism. And so they'd have their traditional, their calendar, and that follows the cycles of the seasons. And for each season, there are ceremonies that are done. And so what happened was when they were beaten and killed and enslaved, to stop them from doing their ceremonies. So what they then did was they changed these seasonal dances into ceremonies or festivals or to honor a saint. And so, so they still do the ceremony, they still dance, but it's called, Santa Ana or the saint. And so they still they adjusted to it and still retained their ceremony. My mother, and then of course we went through the genocide of our culture and language, and so they were not allowed to speak their language when they were put into these government boarding schools. I asked my mom, how is it that you were still able to retain your language when you were not allowed to speak it? You were punished. And she said, what we would do is we would go away from the building and sit out in the yard under a tree maybe, and we would sit there and we'd put our hand over our mouth and we would talk in our language in low voices. And that's how they retained the language. If they got caught, they were severely punished. They were whipped, beaten. They were forced to, scrub the floors with a toothbrush on their hands and knees. They were, severely abused. But it was that strength that they had. I say ingenuity to figure out how they're going to retain, their identity and their culture and spiritual practices.
Hi, thank you so much, Marina and Mona, for being here. I hope this day finds you both well and everyone else in the room. It's interesting, I never heard anyone talk about Mother Earth as the human body, but I've been saying for years, we're sucking the oil out of the earth. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher. I don't understand how we don't understand that that is exactly like sucking the blood out of a human body. It's not going to function the way it's supposed to function if we drain the human body of all of its blood. Same with the oil. The oil lives there. It's supposed to live there, and it's been there for billions of years. And we think, in the last couple of 100 years, if we just suck it out of there, it's not going to be a problem. Anyway, I appreciate so much that I'm not the only person on planet Earth that believes that. And the other thing is, if I may, if anyone is interested in giving a gift or for themselves or for others, there's an organization called Adopt a Native American Elder. And it's very important to give because we need to take care of the elders because of their wisdom and their knowledge and their love. It's like avatars. We need to have those on the planet Earth, otherwise we'll just self-destruct. Thank you so much. Be well, be safe, be happy.
Hello, thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here in the presence of both of you women. Thank you so much. I wanted to pose a question about our consciousness and how ritual can affect consciousness. And maybe this is for both of you, but maybe more also for Marina. As we move through this great transition of our planet, we have an opportunity to recreate the structures of our society. And I'm wondering if you can imagine ceremony or ritual that opens the human imagination to see a way of coexisting with one another, with this planet, that can help move us forward through the transition that is coming, that can give us strength and love and keep us in our joy and our purity. If either one of you have some insight.
I'll answer this one. So, it's very important that what we can do individually. It's so easy to say how the wrong things are and how the bad, situation is with politicians, with the, what is happening in the planet. But what we can do as a personal kind of achievement. And I'm always looking, what I can do myself. So I only can talk from that point of view, very subjective. So I invent something I call Abramović method. And in this Abramović method, I suggest to go back to simplicity. Because the human brain didn't change for many hundreds of years. It's always the same. But technology changed so fast that the human brain doesn't follow anymore. It can become, too complicated. And there's nothing wrong with technology, but everything is wrong with the way how we use it and how addictive we are to technology. So back to simplicity, it means that, very simple things you can do. Basically, take your telephone, your computer, and you watch and put in the locker and just don't look for 3 days at all what happened there, and put the headphones totally block the sound, so you will be in a silence, and see how that actually works, that you cut yourself from that busy life and go in much deeper into your own mind. And this, when you really start thinking about things and you start seeing your life and relation to the others in different way, you start changing. And by changing, you affect everybody else around you, and the things start changing. And that's the kind of one of the very simple solutions. So another idea is, if you're very, very busy, and you're always doing something, what about taking 1 day a week, just 1 day, let's say Sunday, especially the time when you wake up in the morning because you had a good sleep and you have lots of energy and you want to do something. And then what you do, you go for shopping, or you go to see the friends, or you get drink the, I don't know, wine, you get hangover next morning. But what if you don't do anything of this? If you wake up in the morning with all this enormous energy to spend, but actually you sit on the chair and not spending at all. What happened? Just sit on the chair. Just literally sit on the chair. Switch all devices out, and don't see what happened to the energy. Energy is not going outside; it's going inwards, and that's something change. I mean, that kind of simple example. We have to start from ourselves. Nobody changed by reading somebody else's book. Everybody changed by doing the journey himself. That's my suggestion. You have any?
I want to add here just that in this museum at the Rubin, there's the monument to the hopeful and anxious upstairs, which is an interactive piece, which is up for another month, and I encourage everyone to visit it. And